It's time for the Financial Crisis Talk Center with Ken Gross and David Einstandig from Thav Gross.
Credit card debt is number one. I view it as financial cancer.
40% of your gross income is going to just pay the debt service. You got no chance of getting out.
I would give up my credit score to get rid of debt.
Here's your host, Ken Gross.
Welcome back to the Financial Crisis Talk Center. I've got David Einstandig, a.k.a. Little Bo Peep, back again for this segment. Nice to see you, David.
Glad to see you got new material.
Alfreda Bowden is with us again. Hi, Alfreda.
Hi, how are you?
And carry over from our last segment, Allan Lengel from Deadline Detroit. You're going to join in for us for this segment as well.
Good to be here.
Topic.
That's what you're supposed to say, I think.
Yes.
That's what I've seen all the time.
You're
Good to be here. Hello, Detroit.
Keep going with that. I like that.
Hello.
Seen that in concerts.
What was the movie with Robin Williams? It was the Vietnam.
Good Morning,
era.
Vietnam.
Yeah, Good Morning.
Good
And he
morning.
had a real loud, Good Morning, Vietnam.
Yes, he
By the way, Mike O'Hara has texted me and said what our camera guy has said, that it was Herman Moore with the Cinnabon.
Oh.
So we've got it from who?
That was Mike O'Hara.
Mike O'Hara from the Detroit News.
Formerly. Still out there
Still
doing
out there.
sports.
And Dave Klein from our production crew.
And also that Cinnabon in the Detroit Metro Airport was the first one outside of a mall.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Historic.
That went well.
We've got a lot of good trivia going. All right, we're going to talk about
Cinnabon
student
news.
loan debt this segment because I think it is
Stafford.
Stafford is
Is it
a
Stafford?
favorite
Stafford or
player.
Stafford.
That's Stafford.
Stafford.
You got it is a massive problem. The student debt has grown to $1 trillion,
Wow.
and it is growing in a rapid way, unprecedented from the standpoint of what we've seen. I kind of give you some statistics and then talk about it. There's a lot of issues that we're seeing out there with student loans right now. First of all, we're talking about the big global issue of it's $1 trillion worth of debt, and it's going up each day at a tremendous rate. There's this issue of the interest rates. The Stafford student loan interest rate at 3.4% expired June 30th and jumped back up to 6.8%. By the time people might be seeing this show, even though while they're listening to it right now, Congress has not acted to lower that rate back down to the 3.4% it was. So I want to talk about that and talk about the consequences, because that's what all the talk is right now, but that's not the big problem. The big problem is $1 trillion worth of student loan debt. How are students going to be able to afford to grow our economy when they come out of college with $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 worth of debt, with interest rates on top of that they have to pay back that debt? How are they going to be able to afford to buy a home? And if they can't afford to buy a home, what's that going to do with the housing industry? If you look at this show, forget about all the geniuses that are out there when it comes to economics. This show's been going on for 5 years, and for the last 3 years, we've been talking about is the fact that without a housing industry, you have no chance of having a vibrant economy. The last year, we've seen the housing industry rebound, and surprising and shocking as it may be to all these genius economists, thank you, things are, David, try and hang in there, things are getting better. But if on a long-term play, you're not going to have a new housing growth rate that you want if the kids graduating college can't afford to get a mortgage.
Well,
it's a big problem.
In Michigan, though, you have the other factor of who cares about the housing market if you don't have any people to live in the homes?
Yeah, well, I mean, but our housing market is rebounding right now. I mean,
You've
Detroit's
got
less population.
You have 25,000 students a year out of the state of Michigan flight, not going from county to county, but going out of the state to find work. Now, I understand what you're saying.
Is that turning around right now?
The work is here. Not really. If the work is here, then the families will be here. So I understand that the housing market is critical, but we have to look at it as a whole as well. But we still have the problem of $1 trillion student debt.
Good. So we're going to circle around that point and get back to the student debt issue, which is what I which is good.
I
But
thought that's
Would I be?
on the idea of kids leaving 25 students leaving
25,000.
leaving Michigan, is that rate of exit declining now that things are a little bit better economically in the region? Because
Is it too soon to know?
I don't know the exact figures for this year or whatnot, but probably not a significant difference. There's still a lot of
I'd
floods.
say
there's credibility
and
behind what you're saying. You're a school board member. You're giving me
I
statistics,
could tell you this.
right?
I could tell you this. When we look at the numbers of the decrease in population in the county, in Oakland County, even this year as well as the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, it is due to flight out of the state primarily.
I mean, other than go ahead, Alan.
I was going to say I don't have any statistics, but anecdotally, it seems that 5 years ago, all the young graduates were leaving the state, going to Chicago, New York, L.A. I hear a lot more of those people coming back, and it seems like there isn't that same level of urgency. I'm not saying maybe the numbers. I think at least the numbers have diminished a little
through
bit.
The K-12 school system do leave. They go to Chicago. A lot go to Chicago, and a lot do come back.
Right.
A lot don't, but a lot do. But I'm talking about the younger children, the ones in the K through 12 population that are within our system, who's got 2 kids, 2.5, 3, or
who are
3
moving.
So in
kids
this case, the
Families.
parents,
You're talking
the family's
families
moving.
are
The parents are
moving out.
moving out of
Correct,
state.
because the job opportunities are elsewhere.
Okay.
We'll have to kind of see where that goes. I mean, I agree that there's been a lot of that pattern has been going on, but right now, if the job market remains strong or it continues to improve, I mean, think about it. Michigan's climate has some aspects to it, although we haven't had the greatest spring and winter last year, but we don't have hurricanes. We don't have forest fires. We don't have earthquakes of any magnitude.
No mudslides.
No mudslides.
Little
That
we
should
have,
be the yes. Say yes to Michigan.
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
we don't have.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't have horrifically cold winters.
Fires.
We have snow, but we don't. It's
Tsunamis.
not
We haven't had a
Buffalo.
tsunami.
True.
No tsunamis.
I remember, though, we had that one tornado
We have-
in like 76.
Normally, we have phenomenal summers too.
76.
We have Kentucky bluegrass, green grass. We have trees. We
I
have,
think we'd edit
Fresh
this as a
water.
commercial.
Yeah, fresh water.
All right,
Pure
back,
Michigan. Hey, let's do Pure Michigan.
I don't have on my Detroit shirt today.
back to college though. All right, the debt has grown in the last 10 years from $250 billion to $1 trillion. That is. 10 years ago is not that long ago, 2003, 2004. We got to look at size of that debt. When we come back, I want to talk about what's tuition cost nationally versus in Michigan. We'll be back.
Don't let legal problems destroy your family or your life. Get the justice you deserve. I'm Sabrina Cronin of the Cronin Law Firm, and I'm here to make things right. My firm handles family law, business law, and even criminal law. We can handle all of your legal needs. So whatever you're facing, I'm here to get you justice. You can't afford not to call. Call 855-CRONIN-LAW today.
If your house is underwater, please listen to this important message.
The rules have finally changed. We're seeing some great loan modifications with reduced principal, and short sales are easier to get done than people think. The biggest problems I see are people wait too long or they try and do it themselves. There are no second chances.
If you're underwater in your house, call the experts.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
I couldn't get out of the car. I couldn't run or exercise. I couldn't work.
Dr. Lewis Radin believes that pain shouldn't have to wait. His Spine Specialist of Michigan is a comprehensive center dedicated to helping you manage pain now. Expect the latest techniques and personalized care. Why suffer another minute?
He's the best. I tell people that he's the one that saved my life.
Make your appointment with Dr. Radin. Call 248-792-9496.
No one ever thinks that a serious injury can happen to them, but it can, and it does. And it can happen to you. And when it does, you need a fighter in that courtroom for you. Call me, Ben Johnson. Automobile accident, police misconduct, medical malpractice, product liability. You know what you're up against, how hard it is to get answers. When all you want is justice, call me, Ben Johnson. Whatever your legal crisis, I will fight for you. Call me today.
Do you have tax problems, unfiled returns? Facing levies on wages in your property? You need an expert, not a cartoon character or salesman. Fab Gross is your solution.
You need to look at the big picture. That's what we do. We develop a plan that's right for you.
I had major tax problems. I didn't know what to do.
We did. We sat down together and solved your tax problem.
No more letters, no more phone calls. They saved me.
Call Thav Gross, 888-235-HELP.
Going from hourly to salary seemed like a good career move, but now you're working 60 hours a week instead of 40, and you aren't getting paid any of that extra time. You're stuck, right? Wrong. You can be on salary and still be entitled to overtime. If you've been wrongly denied such pay, you may be entitled to that and more. Gold Star Law is here to help you through your employment law problem, whatever it is.
Gold Star Law, protecting employees' rights. Call 1-800-WAGES-10 for a free consultation today.
Welcome back. We're with Allan Lengel, Frida Bowden, Little Bo Peep, David Einstein, and we're talking about student debt. Before we get back to it, I just want to remind listeners that the TV version of the Financial Crisis Talk Center, the time has moved. It's now at 10:30 a.m. on Sunday mornings on TV 20. It used to be at 1 o'clock p.m. We've moved it to 10:30, figuring that people are out and about during the day on Sunday, enjoying the second half of the weekend, so you can catch us in the morning. I want to thank our show sponsors, Cronin Law Firm, Venn Johnson Law, Gold Star Law, Samasco Law, Double Action Shooting Range and Gun Shop, Spine Specialists of Michigan. We appreciate the support. I want to remind people, if you do have issues, we're not running any seminars in the summer, but if you have issues, you can come into our offices anytime for a free consultation. You just need to call 888-235-HELP, or you can sign up online, go to the Thav Gross website or the Financial Crisis Talk Center website. There's a zillion spots there where you can check for free consultation. Now, back to student debt. Sure.
Can I throw in my one little thing? One of our listeners in Boulder, Colorado, Julie Steinmetz Schaefer, writes, after listening to our last little riff, she said, "I'm listening, almost ready to move back."
Well, is there anything we can do to tip the coin all the way over so she will move back?
Emphasize the almost.
Former Camp Tamarack worker.
I heard Southwest in November will start doing flights for $99 out of Flint. So.
Oh, really? From Flint all the way to the West Coast?
Well, I didn't hear all the states, cities, but I know it's Florida is included in that. And
wow.
I think
that'll be really big. Happy to drive to Flint for a 99 flight rather than
and a Halo burger.
387 on a
387. When's the last time it's been 387 when it's remotely near a school break?
No, right.
Right. 1200 is more like it.
Not remotely near a school break on maybe like a Thursday.
Don't get me started.
Yeah. No, it's flights are expensive, no question. All right, college costs. So I grabbed this article. There was a good article that had a whole bunch of charts. Like I like charts, called From Mother Jones. That's the website. And the first one that hit me was major expenses, and it said the 4-year cost of college on a national average as of 2010 was $21,657, whereas in 1980 it was only $8,756. But I looked at that and said, all right, that was 2010. What are we paying in Michigan now? So I went to AnnArbor.com, and they recently had a good summary. Eastern Michigan, for 4 years, $37,456. That's $9,300 a year. University of Michigan, coming in number one. You'll be happy to hear that. At $12,994 a year for $52,976. Michigan State, a close number two at $12,683 per year for a total of $50,732. Western, $41,420. They're running at $10,355 a year. Central Michigan, $44,880. They're running at $11,220. I couldn't pick up a number for Wayne State. I was looking at it. I know they announced an 8.9% tuition increase, but I couldn't get their number. But my point here is $21,657 is a drop in the bucket compared to basically $50,000 for a 4-year education. Forget about room and board. Forget about books. This is for tuition costs. It's a lot of money. And what happens is you end up going in there, you borrow on student loans, you get out of school, and if you're only finding yourself a job in the $35,000 range, and you're coming out of there with an $800-900 student loan payment, you got a serious problem, and it's a difficult situation. And we need to resolve it on a long-term basis. Otherwise, we're not going to get anywhere.
If there was no interest, you got
still
the
a big problem.
You got the same problem.
So now
the change in the interest rates, the Stafford increase, the doubling, the sunset provision, is not the problem.
I completely agree with you. It's what makes for press, because you don't want to see your payment go up or double from 3.4 to 6.8%. But let's kind of summarize what loans out. What are the loan programs out there? Because there is so much data on student loans. It's a difficult thing for people to kind of get a grasp of. And here basically what we have. We have subsidized and unsubsidized loans, and they are called the Stafford loans, after, I think he was a senator. Subsidized Stafford loans have a 3.4% interest rate. The cap on those loans is a maximum of $23,000 over a 4-year program. $3,500 first year, $4,500 second year, $5,500 thereafter. That amounts to $28 billion of loans in 2013. Now, in order to qualify for a subsidized loan, you have to show need. If you can't establish financial need, then you can get an unsubsidized Stafford loan. That's at the 6.8% interest rate. The total amount you can borrow on unsubsidized loans is $57,500. And within that amount, you're still maxed on your you can supplement your subsidized loans to come to a total of $57,500 on unsubsidized. That amounts to $59 billion of loans in 2013. So twice as much is loaned out on the unsubsidized portion. But that's not all. We also have plus loans, which have 7.9% interest rate. There's no cap on those, and that's another $19 billion in loans for 2013. And on top of that, we also have what's called the Perkins loan, which is awarded to undergrad, grad, and professional students with exceptional need. And that carries 5% interest, and that's $1 billion worth of loans for the year as well. So you've got these massive programs out there.
$100 billion in 2013.
Yeah. Now, the question is, how do you go about paying them back? And first of all, we're coming up to a break. When we come back after the break, I'll give you the numbers. But it's just like there's proposals out there, but the bigger question is, what do we do about the long-term problem? And there's this thing called IBR, or pay-as-you-go, which people need to know what it is, and then we need to look at it and see, is it a good thing, and will this solve the problem? We'll be back after the break.
You like your job. What you don't like is the way your boss has been treating you. He's making comments about how you look instead of your work, and he's been touching you inappropriately. If you complain, is he allowed to fire you? Absolutely not. Unwelcome sexual comments, advances, and contact are illegal in the workplace. Make him pay. Gold Star Law is here to help you through your employment law problem, whatever it is.
Gold Star Law, protecting employees' rights. Call 1-800-WAGES-10 for a free consultation today.
Every family has the family meeting, and we all know what that means. Dad's got dementia. What are we going to do? What's the care plan that the family has in place? Usually they don't, or they struggle with a care plan. When you go home tonight and you talk to your tax person and you talk to your financial person, say, what's the plan that you have in place? And as soon as they don't give you an answer, give me a call, because I can do it for you.
Financially strapped? Do you want to save your home?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Double Action, shooting center and gun shop. For the largest selection of guns, accessories, and ammunition, Double Action is your only pro gun shop. And now you can train with the best in our basic CCW course with the most comprehensive curriculum, the best resources, and most accomplished staff. Don't be fooled by cheap imitations. Double Action is the only place to get your CCW or renewal. Double Action. We're on DeQuinder and Madison Heights.
Carrying too much debt? Dump your debt. Call Thav Gross.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call Thav Gross. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Welcome back. Got Elfrida Bowden, Allan Lengel, Dave Einstein. We're talking about student loan debt. All right, here's a prediction. By the time this show airs on TV, I think Congress will have done something with the interest rate. And what will they do? They'll punt. They'll just extend the 3.4% for another year, and we'll see what happens. That's just my prediction. We'll see if it holds true. We'll probably know in the next 10 days. The other proposals that are in front of Congress to resolve this problem are addressing the interest rate on the loans, but not really changing any of the repayment options. And the issue is whether the rate will become a variable rate tied to the Treasury rates, and it'll either be tied to the 3-year or the 10-year rate.
When you talk about resolving this problem, I think we need to put it into context is what problem you're talking about. I think you're referring to this issue of the sunset provision and interest rates, which is one, quote, problem, but it doesn't even remotely address the problem, which is the $1 trillion of debt.
Yeah, well, I think if you... I completely agree with you. If you listen to some of the congressmen or the senators speaking when the subject comes up, they're aware of the issue, that it's a bigger issue than the interest rates, but they're mired into only talking about the interest rate issue. They need to address the broader issue. What I'm concerned about is the way our government works is we just address the smallest possible resolution that we can. And if they end up ultimately coming to a variable rate tied to the T-bill rate plus a administrative cost factor, if we see interest rates come back up into the 8-9% interest rate, you're going to have student loan rates at 12%. So you have a potential disaster there looming anyway. But the other aspect is, how do you pay back the loans? And there is a new program that started at the end of this year called Pay As You Go. And prior to that, there was what was called IBR, which is income-based repayment, which allows you to elect options to pay based upon your disposable income. In a disposable income, if you go to the website, you'll see you put in your number of dependents and what your adjusted gross income is for the year, and then they calculate and they give you a payment based upon a percentage of your income. And it will reduce your payment from the interest rate payment that is stated under your loan agreement. The problem is it extends the term. And so what you have to do as a student, you have to project and look and see, what do I think my income is going to be? Will I be better in the pay-as-you-go program, or will I be better off in a program where I just stay with the fixed rate of interest?
Sounds like pay until you die.
It's a big problem. And I think that the biggest problem, I think where Congress is missing it, is I think there are better ways of solving this problem with our existing framework that we have with the bankruptcy laws we have. And here, in shorter, because we don't have a lot of time, I'll tell you why. Bankruptcy is always an option if you're buried in debt, but it's not something people are always excited about doing. It's something that they do as a last resort. They figure there's a cost to it from the standpoint that it's a mark on their credit, and they only want to do it out of necessity. So it has an inherent disincentive to file. You don't file bankruptcy unless you need to do it, and we talk about it all the time. It's the smart thing to do when you need to do it. So I think you could change the student loan problem by you could go to the extreme, because right now student loans are non-dischargeable. You could say they're dischargeable, but then everyone would be discharging their student loan debt.
Which means that you cannot eliminate the loan in the bankruptcy process of 13 or 7. But Ken, if you think about it, if you come out at $50,000 in debt, $40,000 in debt, and you're making $35,000 a year, 100% of those people are going to be a candidate for a 7 or a 13.
So the problem is, if it's too easy to discharge all the debt, everyone would do it. So I can't see that ever getting passed, because then what you'd have is all of these student loans, this $100 billion worth of debt, would just be another form of public assistance, and you'd have socialized education, which you could make that argument, but if you're going to make that argument, then do it the right way. There's a lot of great countries that pay for college educations for their children. But you could also do it with the Chapter 13 debt. We've talked about Chapter 13. Right now you get 5 years to repay. You could say if you've got student loans over X amount, you have to repay over 7 years, not 5 years. You could say that the student loan debt gets paid as a priority over and above the credit card debt or other unsecured debt, so that the government is getting paid back first before the private sector. I think in a lot of ways, there's simpler solutions to solving the aggregate problem of having people to be able to afford to live using the bankruptcy laws, rather than trying to create these complicated pay-as-you-go IBR systems, which are going to end up employing thousands of people to administer the program, which is just going to add cost and burden to, and bigger government.
It's a thorny issue because many students that are going to college at that age don't have their own individual net worth. It's a parent or a guardian or a grandparent or trust or whatever that's paying for the education. And if they were looking at it as a business decision, purely as a business decision, I would say, you know what? Giddy up on student loans, get a $50,000 in debt, and I don't care if you're 24 years old and we put you into Chapter 7, and I'll take that $50,000, put it in the market, and it'll be worth $500,000, and I'll give it to you in 10 years.
You got a good point. That's why I don't think you'll ever get to the Chapter 7 discharge to do it, because then it becomes too easy. But if it's in a 13 and you create parameters so that there's a significant disincentive to doing it, but you're doing it by necessity, that's basically how a Chapter 13 works right now. It's the needs test.
And I think what we can agree, though, is on all of these proposals that you've outlined today and touched on briefly, none of them appear to fix the actual problem. I think we can agree on that.
Absolutely. I want to give a couple websites out to people. If you need information on student loans, there's some great sites. Studentloans.gov, studentaid.ed.gov, and you can also go to the consumer financial site, which is consumerfinance.gov/paying-for-college. And another one is the ibrinfo.org. These are all sites that address what programs are available, what you can avail yourself to, and they address the problem of if you have repayment issues, what your options are. You need to know what your options are in every step along the way.
Taking out your parent is not one, because you're not going to be able to collect on the life insurance.
Absolutely. I want to thank you for listening and watching. We'll be back next week with the Financial Crisis Talk Center. Have a great week.